Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Joe Kappa. I am a project manager, an associate faculty here at, rather, with the Office of Academic Innovation, Operations, and Technology, and faculty in the Business of Art, Business Administration program. I am the host for this session, UAGC Student Veterans of America, Creating Belonging with our new chapter. By joining us today, you acknowledge that this session is being recorded and will be shared with TLC-related materials. Microphones will be muted for this presentation, but we encourage you to post questions and comments in the chat. Also, we have enabled live transcription. If you would like to use it, click the Show Captions button at the bottom of your Zoom window. Now, I am pleased to introduce you to the panel led by Larissa Armstead. And Larissa, take it away.
All right, thank you so much, Joe. Welcome to UAGC Student Veterans of America, Creating Belonging with our new chapter. My name is Larissa Armstead, and I am a Student Success Program Coordinator in the CHAMPS program here at University of Arizona Global Campus. I obtained my Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from Ashford University and continued on to obtain a Master of Science in Instructional Design and Technology here at UAGC. I am a proud advisor of the UAGC SVA chapter and am a licensed global career development facilitator from the Center for Credentialing and Education. I'm one of the founders of the Military Support and Leadership Club that has recently transitioned to the Student Veterans of America UAGC SVA chapter. I'm passionate about supporting our military affiliated students as I come from a long history of veterans and am a 20-year military spouse. It's important to me to support and offer resources for our students so that they feel encouraged, part of the community, and gain a sense of belonging. We've worked with many students over the years, and I'm happy to say that the chapter leadership that we have now that have transitioned to the chapter have exceeded my expectations, and I can't wait to see where they take us in the next couple of years. Michelle?
Thank you, Larissa. Hi, my name is Michelle Reese, and I am a Student Success Program Coordinator in the CHAMPS program at the University of Arizona Global Campus. In this role, I support mentors, mentees, and staff with guidance and resources. I became a student in 2012, completing my bachelor's in organizational management with a concentration in human resource. I then went on to complete my first master's in organizational management with a concentration in leadership. I just completed my second master in instructional design and technology. In 2014, I was invited to join the CHAMPS Peer Mentoring Program, where I found value in the CHAMPS mentoring program and how to give back to the community while mentoring students. That is when I found my passion working with students and had met many military affiliated students through the CHAMPS program. Since I am a Gold Star mom and enjoy listening to others that are military affiliated, I went to Larissa and we brainstormed how to create a club for our military affiliated students. That is how we developed the Military Spouse Support and Leadership Club, and it's now the UAGC SVA chapter. Next slide, please. So in 2020, Larissa and I talked about creating a safe space for our military affiliated students. Since we worked with so many through the CHAMPS program, we called the club the Military Spouse Support and Leadership. We developed the bylaws and governing documents to follow as a club. In the club, it was centered around spouses, parents, for military students. Larissa and I developed the roles and volunteer positions for our cabinet members that we felt would be beneficial. In the process, we started advertising our new club to other military spouses and parents. Our first meeting was held in April of 2020, and we had our president and vice president who were military affiliated students as spouses run that meeting. Next, Larissa is going to cover 2021.
Thanks, Michelle. In 2021, we ended up with an amendment to our name, constitution, mission, and vision statement that made our club more inclusive to all military affiliated students, including active duty and veterans. This was brought to my attention when I was meeting with an active duty sailor that was interested in getting more involved. After amending our governing documents, he took over presidency and continued to run the club, organizing monthly meetings and recruiting new cabinet members to join us. This was a fantastic way to engage our military affiliated students. We found that consistency was key for our membership to grow, and holding meetings on a regular basis was the perfect way to engage and have good conversations with our military affiliated students.
In 2022 and 2023, the club looked at other ways to be more involved with the community and members of the club. The club wanted to start working with the STAR event, which is sharing time and resources. That is through the university. Our first STAR event was Wreaths Across America. The club was able to have more students involved all over the national cemeteries throughout the United States. This event is an honor, and we decided to make this the mission of the club every year. Larissa and I decided to do other STAR events with the university, and that was when we did our first Veterans Letter Writing event. The club/chapter invites all to join our STAR events and give back to our community. Here's a list of a few STAR events that the SVA chapter hosts alongside the STAR team. We do Wreaths Across America in December. We do Veterans Writing in November for Veterans Day. And then we also do our Memorial Walk in May. Next up, Larissa is going to finalize the current year.
Thanks. After being invited to and attending the 2024 NatCon hosted by Student Veterans of America, I returned with a renewed energy for the future of our club and its members. I went to work with our current president, reviewing and amending our current constitution. With the guidance of our directors, Heather and Ashley, we were able to submit our governing documents, proof of website, proof of leading cabinet members and advisors to Student Veterans of America, and obtain our status as an active chapter in April of 2024. We feel confident that the resources and support are absolutely phenomenal for our military affiliated students. And you'll get to hear more about the benefits from our cabinet members up next. Our president wasn't able to attend today, but provided us a perfect video to share with you all. I'll go ahead and mute myself and play the video for you.
Hello, Michelle and Larissa, thank you so much for that, kicking that off and for that introduction. My name is Clinton Birchfield. Before we get into that, I want to say thank you for having us. We're honored to be here. We're excited to talk about our experience, our sense of community, the sense of belonging, everything that we have going on with this chapter. I really kind of want to highlight a couple of things before we get into the meat of it all. Is one being the importance of having a good foundation and leveraging all of those the benefits, the networking, and the opportunities that you have. So, getting started in this, when it was a club status, we had good framework, good foundation, and a good direction. And that aligned with SVA, and we were able to leverage everything that they had in place and the culture that they'd already created to help benefit, our chapter, now our chapter, and its members. But it's really important. A lot of that came from SVA. Not that it didn't already exist, but there was a lot to leverage that SVA offered. And we'll get into that more. But I want to say again, thank you for having us here. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night. Make sure we cover all the bases, because I don't know where you're coming from, where you're tuning in from. But again, we're happy to be here. And for all the people behind the scene that's helping with technology, answering questions, etc., thank you as well. Last thing I want to touch on is there may be like a reoccurring theme here, because all of us in this presentation will be touching on sense of belonging and community, imposter syndrome, and veteran identity. You may hear a couple of things about repetitive nature regarding certain programs, And that's by design. It's because it's that important, either overall or to us. We really want to convey our individual message as it pertains to us. We have a lot in common here in this cabinet, but we also have our differences. And so we speak for those that fit that demographic profile. We want to make sure we're reaching out to everybody to convey that message. So if it seems like it might be repetitive in certain areas, that's why. So bear with us. And again, I'm Clint Birchfield. I am the founding president of this chapter. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran. Graduated magna cum laude in 2023 from UAGC with my bachelor's in organizational management, and from Honors College with an emphasis in entrepreneurial drone piloting. I already stated, the founding president of UAGC SVA chapter and a member of Salute and Sigma Now Tau. A diverse career in various industries, to save us some time, just a few: material analysis, nuclear security, and construction, but it is a very eclectic resume. Next slide. Thank you. So developing leadership motivation through national conferences. Inspiring leadership through national level engagement. In 2023 SVA National Conference, NatCon, as the turning point for leadership motivation. I highlight this because my journey, as previously mentioned, unique to me. I knew about the club. I'd found the club. I can say club because back then they were. And didn't know much about it. I joined, didn't really know what that meant. Tried to engage as much as I could, with a busy schedule, being a single parent, having a lot of other stuff, like personal stuff going on in my life, and trying to get those good grades in school. And then I was working on a new chapter of my life where I was trying to give myself as many opportunities as possible, because we won't get into that because that's a therapy session, but looking to try and highlight and uplift myself and find moments to say yes and explore and be proud of my achievements, which was very new for me. And there was an opportunity to apply for a scholarship to go to NatCon. I didn't know what that was. SVA, didn't know what that was. Looked it up, and it was like something about student veterans, and I was one. So, okay, let's give it a shot. So I wrote my essay, and I won the opportunity. That opportunity changed a lot, because at that point, speaking earlier about veteran identity, I didn't really know where I fit in as a veteran. And I'll touch on this a little bit more, but it's a very dynamic term. We say veteran. You have a group, you could have an army of veterans, but within that army, or that community, if you will, of veterans, there's fractures and fissures and boundaries, and we're all different. You have the ones who worked administrative. You have the ones that worked, boots on ground, bullets flying, bombs blowing up. You had flight lines with, jets flying past, out in the ocean, aircraft carriers, submarines. We all did different things. And even in that, our roles were different. So when you say veteran, maybe we don't all necessarily know where we fit in that. Some had great experiences, some had really bad experiences. Some want to highlight that because it was the best part of their life, and some want to bury it away because it was maybe the worst part of their life. And so, it's very dynamic. And I say all that to say that when I was at NatCon, I saw that camaraderie that you really only see in the military. It may exist externally, but for people who served, you know what I'm talking about. It's like a family reunion for people that you can actually connect with. Sorry, family. But you served together. You had some of the same experiences. You want to know, like, what was your base like? Where did you go? Oh, that's great. Yeah, I was there too. Sharing those experiences, and that was across the board. And it was actually better than what I saw in the military, because where I served, whom I served with, there were some cliques. It's human nature, I suppose. But Here, it was just everyone's welcome, everyone's warm. It doesn't matter if your gender assignment, or if you're still exploring that part of yourself, or where you served, or how you served. None of that. It was like, you're here, you're one of us. If you're here, you belong here. And that was a great feeling, because getting out of the military, and having to fight for benefits and then not getting any benefits, and then kind of realizing that my civilian self had to override my military self, I buried that. It was gone for a long time. And so I'm sitting there in these sessions at this conference, and I'm hearing these people talk about this stuff and how they're improving it for future veterans. And I'm wondering about the stopgap. What about the veterans who came before? And that sparked some great conversations. And it made me realize that I wanted to do what I could to help veterans. I want to reach them. I want to make things easier for them. I want to guide them if I can. If I can't provide anything, oh well, but I want to try. I didn't want other veterans to feel like I did. So I represented a certain minority of demographic for veterans, regarding veteran identity, the suppressed, repressed, oh well, moved on kind of thing. And that was a lot for me. That was a big moment, because that's what led me to even consider running for a leadership position within the club. So that was a turning point, that most definitely. And that all specifically hinged on, a lot of our key topics, which is the sense of belonging, a sense of community, veteran identity, and then imposter syndrome, because I didn't talk about that veteran side of myself for so long. Does it apply? Do I fit? Do I belong? Should I be here? What do I have to say? What do I have to contribute? And just touching on that, imposter syndrome is big, because many people have felt it, and some people may not even know that's what they're feeling. But it's like when you're starting a new job or a new role, when you're returning to school. For those of us who went back to school after years, if not decades, not sure how we're going to fit into the classroom, public speaking, presenting, talking to leadership. When the first time you end up going into a conference or a meeting with leadership, maybe you feel like you don't belong there. Creative work, people who work on advertisements and things like that. You're using a part of yourself. You're actually kind of have to display your creativity, and maybe you feel like you don't belong. Receiving an award, especially if you were a little reserved, or you're not used to the attention, or you don't feel like you belong it, or that you deserve it. You don't feel like you deserve it, or that you don't feel like you belong there. And that right there is that highlights, that is imposter syndrome. You feel like you do not belong there, or you do not deserve it. Parenting sometimes. I know when I first started out with my child, sometimes I wasn't quite sure if I was a good parent. And then I realized that if I'm asking myself if I'm a good parent, I'm probably better off than some. So I'll take it. He hasn't complained, not yet. We'll see what happens when he turns 18. Entrepreneurships. Any point in time, if you can think about it, when you started a new job, when you met somebody new, and you thought, I don't deserve this, or I don't belong here, or this is going really well. It's only a matter of time before they find out I'm a fraud. And then they don't, because you're not a fraud. You're where you need to be, even if it's just to learn a lesson for a brief moment. You're where you need to be. And I just want to highlight SVA did a great job of that. Even in Leadership Institute, there were people who we talked specifically about this. And there were people who, opened up and mentioned, shared with us, with the group, that they felt that they didn't belong there. Overwhelming response, very emotional, very heart-wrenching. It was touching. It was a great experience. But to wrap all of that up, that's really what this did for me, that conference. And I try to bring that. So really try to bring that and remain cognizant in my role for the chapter. And as mentioned, witness true collaboration, camaraderie, and inclusion. I didn't see anyone left out. I saw everyone happy to be there. Found and rebuilt my veteran voice through active participation. As mentioned, I didn't have a veteran voice. It was zero. It was because of that moment that, as I mentioned, got me on this path. And if you were ever to see me in a meeting with my wall behind me in my office, I have my military stuff up on the wall to celebrate that part of my life. I never did. It used to be in a box. It used to be in a box in storage because that's where it belonged, because I had nothing to say. So I built that back up. Sparked a desire to elevate military leadership and support club to the UAGC SVA chapter. My takeaway from this is growth and leadership stem from community-driven support. We may be used to creating those lines and those barriers both digitally and in the real world, and do our own thing and operate in silos because it's safer. And this comes from someone who does very well by themselves. We are a social creature. We thrive. We might be able to survive outside of that networking and that connection, but we thrive once we can feel that connection and we feel like we belong. Different parts of our brain start to fire and we have new thoughts and we're invigorated. It's a great experience, and it's just who we are as a people. Overcoming imposter syndrome through SVA's inclusivity. So finding belonging and overcoming imposter syndrome, I spoke about that. I personally struggle with identifying as a veteran, feeling disconnected from that part of my identity. As mentioned, I mean, I could go to an American Legion or one of the local organizations around here and sit down at a dinner or a banquet or even for a drink. And if I sit down with an older veteran, I'm going to hear a lot of very detailed stories, and they're going to remember, what squadrons they were in, the people they served with and served under, and I'm not that veteran. And because of all those conversations where I lacked all of that information because I kind of buried it away and moved on, I felt like I didn't deserve the title of veteran. I served, I lost people, I had that experience, but am I really a veteran? The answer is yes. Come to find out, I am. And there's different kinds, but it was a struggle for me to come to that conclusion. So as I've mentioned more than once, definition of veteran varies widely. Adding to the internal conflict, SVA's workshops and interactions revealed that feeling voiceless was valid and shared by others. So, I was a part of that demographic. The thing is I didn't want that demographic to continue to be voiceless. It was a choice almost at that point. Previously, it felt necessary and it was isolated because we didn't have that community. But when you sit down and you look around and you have a bunch of other people looking around and talking, that's the opportunity. We are the community. So let's make something of that. The inclusivity of SVA helped me recognize my place and motivated me to ensure others feel included. Outcome, belonging leads to active participation and leadership. It's really the empowerment piece. Previous cultures, especially in the working force, those industries, the command and control, do what I say, not what I do, don't ask questions, all of that doesn't really lead to growth or self-actualization or personal investment. It's when you break those boundaries down and you're looking more at inclusivity. Cross connection, development, community, really just community. And community is another dynamic word. It means what you make it, really. But when you start exploring that, that's where you can get a lot of magical things to happen, and you can really shift the dynamic of something. Next slide. Utilizing SVA resources for academic and career success. So leveraging SVA resources for growth and advocacy. SVA resources leveraged, for me, what I leveraged were the scholarships, Leadership Institute, and career networking at NatCon. They have a huge leg for career networking. They want their veterans to succeed. I won't really go into the lobbying part. My esteemed vice president will cover that potentially in their portion, but they tons of scholarships. That's for academic or for participation in their programs. Leadership Institute, I mentioned that a little bit. Earlier, it is focused on leadership, but it's also focused mainly on individual growth. A lot of self-exploration, a lot of challenging moments that you kind of have to overcome, some barriers that you realize that you have in place. And it's a bunch of real talk. It's not canned jargon. It's not prim and proper all the time. It's about as rough as life can be, in conversation, at least. And it's really raw, and it's necessary. It touches the humanity piece that exists as an underlying framework for everything that we do, or at least should be doing, as humans. Personal achievements. I was awarded a scholarship, participated in the Leadership Institute, and became an SVA Leadership Fellow, which is what happens after you complete the program. You become a Leadership Fellow. Helped lead the previous club to current chapter status, which is a huge win, and I'm going to touch on how that is a group effort here in a moment. Creation of Leadership Exchange Initiative. There is an initiative that we're working on because there is a very unique challenge for virtual schools, hybrid schools, chapters, for that connectivity. You go somewhere and you see something, you're there physically, and you see a booth and you talk to a person, or you see that they're wearing your favorite team's shirt or cap or jacket, or you have that same backpack, or you want to know more about that tablet or phone they're using, or whatever. Anything can spark a conversation. But in the ether, which we're sharing the space right now, this eternal flow of digital universe, how do you connect? A little harder, especially when it's geared towards a community of people who have lives. Not to say there are some people who don't have lives, but what that means changes. You're a parent, you're a single parent, you're a parent of multiple children, you will also have to work a job, maybe 2 jobs. Who knows? It's a very dynamic background. And you have people who have those previous obligations, things that must be done. And so how do you schedule something where they can even want to join? Because sometimes, like I know me, when I have a moment, I just kind of want to go into a dark room and put my head into a corner and just be with myself, just relax. So when another thing pops up, how do you invigorate them? Well, you open the door, and if they make it, they make it. And if not, you tell them, we would have loved to have you. This is what you missed. We missed you, and maybe next time. And maybe next time is exactly when they show up. But it's about keeping the doors open. So the leadership exchange is to try and invigorate those for other chapters. It's where chapter leaders come together and talk about what their struggles are and how they can make that, how they can improve on that. So it's a cross-pollination of leadership, kind of shedding the exteriors of the schools that we represent or the regions that we represent, and just trying to uplifting one another for mutual success. Because again, it's about the veteran community. So this isn't necessarily direct from SVA or direct from this chapter, but it is a derivative. It is because of these things that this other thing is being worked on right now. Takeaway: leveraging SVA resources is crucial for academic and career development. And that's huge. Like, if you haven't gotten anything from anything that I've said, take away that all of these opportunities, all of these events would not have occurred if, 1, SVA didn't have these resources, and 2, we didn't do what we needed to leverage those resources. Next slide, please. So, conclusion and acknowledgments. So, collective success, recognizing the team, which is super important because none of this stuff is singular. I came in and it was just me for a little bit, but now I have an amazing team that works right beside me, and you'll get to speak to them here shortly. Recognizing the collaborative efforts of the UAGC SVA chapters cabinet, advisors, and chapter members. This was across the board. Chapter achievements, active chapter status, as mentioned, scholarship success, and now more than one of us have received said scholarships. And then leadership fellow involvement, again, now there's more of us that have been involved in that opportunity. And then growth in governance. When we started, the governing documents were a couple of pages, and now it is a couple times several. It's a rather extensive document. There's still room to grow. Reorganization of those governing steps and the byproducts, more areas to explore. We have a lot of momentum left, and a lot of growth left for us to explore and implement. Appreciation for the SVA Leadership Fellows and their influence on the Leadership Exchange initiative. Again, not direct, but because of our involvement in those, and because we were able to leverage those, is precisely why this new initiative is being created. Call to action: engage with veteran-led initiatives and support military-affiliated students. Well, that's what we're doing, and that's why we're here. With that, I am going to pass it over to my esteemed Vice President, Chevis Matthews. Chevis Matthews, you have the con. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Clint. I'll give it a second. Thank you, Clint, Melissa, our chapter advisors, our TLC support, and all our attendees who are here with us today, or those who are watching the recording later. Thank you for joining. I am Chevis Matthews, a retired Navy veteran with 20 years of service. I joined UAGC in March of 2023. I'm currently pursuing a degree in operational management and analysis with an emphasis on environmental management and sustainability to help me transition into the corporate sector. I am the current founding vice president of UAGC SVA, and I enjoy within our chapter providing career information and opportunities to the chapter to help promote success during and after an academic career at UAGC. So suppose you have never heard of the Student Veterans of America. In that case, I hope that at the conclusion of this presentation, you will know not only who the SVA is, but also why they are important to our military affiliated community. Next slide, please. So overcoming imposter syndrome and embracing inclusivity, like our president said, we're all going to address this from our own perspective because it is important to hear it from different perspectives from everyone else. So in my experience, not checking all the boxes is important to a lot of people. So it is important for us to do our best to empathize with as many people and situations as we can. When I was on active duty, I never heard terms like inclusivity and imposter syndrome because we all supported each other. We were there for each other and their families and, everybody who supported us. So those were new terms to me. Fast forward to retirement, I noticed more and more how significant things like access to a military facility or holding a military ID card, how important little things like that really was and how it can define or even segregate a person if they don't necessarily qualify for those certain benefits. So we at UAGC SVA, we want all military affiliated students, faculty, staff, everyone to know that we don't care how you are affiliated. It does not matter. If you are military affiliated, whether active duty, veteran, spouse, dependent, caregiver, or supporter, you qualify to be within the SVA, you qualify to be within UAGC SVA, and you are more than welcome to join. Understanding for all military affiliated students and alumni, our challenge with that is to create more opportunities for those encounters. And we achieve that with efforts such as holding monthly meetings, holding social events, and an open discussion board via UAGC Connect. But even with these platforms in place, we still need to be active in making them more acceptable to others, which for us, that requires our patience and our empathy, which that's something that we practice every day. Next slide, please. Fostering engagement and inclusivity. So engage and invite all military affiliated students to join our chapter. As I mentioned previously, the steps we have taken are hosting public events, but we also recognize, military holiday achievements. We send out personal invitations. All of us here, we try to find any opportunity to invite all military affiliated personnel to our chapter. Any chance to interact with someone is an opportunity to promote and offer our chapter and resources. having an open avenue for military spouses, dependents, and caregivers. We're currently in the process of updating our merchandise for greater visibility. We've been in discussions to target certain social events where families are not only welcome, but encouraged to not only join. That includes pets. That's a huge part of a lot of just people's lives, including their pets, is one way that we want to really leverage, making this a comfortable, safe place for you to join, because we want to see your pets in the screen when we're at the meetings. It doesn't distract us. It doesn't bother us. It may send the conversation off track a little bit, but we'll always come back to the topics at hand. Safe and welcoming space for all military affiliated people. We have recently all taken suicide awareness training for online engagement. This helps us be better prepared for various situations that must be handled virtually, but it also shows us how we can offer our training and our services, not just to our members, but to other clubs and members here at UAGC. Next slide, please. Enhancing academic success and career development within SVA. Comprehensive SVA support program. So there is a multitude of programs that SVA offers. I'm going to cover a few of them. One of the programs that I would like to highlight is here at UAGC, we have a exemplary academic advisor team that's available to all students, but it's general to just students. They don't really cater to military specifically. So at SVA, they also have what's called the National Academic Advising Center, also called the NAC. The NAC provides specialized and personalized academic coaching, tools, and support to transitioning service members, veterans, and their families. This program is catered for military affiliated students. Career guidance and services. While organizations like the UAGC and even the VA have excellent services to aid in academic and career success, SVA is a great option available to UAGC military to the community. SVA also has a career center to assist in career readiness, equipped with access to workshops, hiring fairs, networking events, and career coaching. I recommend that all students explore all the resources available to you, whether it's UAGC, VA, SVA, and then you just find which option is the best option to help you reach your goals throughout your academic journey. Next slide, please. Advocacy skills and leadership development. Some of the most notable, the veteran lobbying initiatives. SVA is on the front line for advocating for student veterans. The most notable lobbying effort is their push for the Forever GI Bill. If you've never heard of it, this will be an education benefit that does not expire, unlike the current Montgomery GI and post 9/11, which expire after 10 to 15 years from separation. This information is not, it's public, but it's not well known to all veterans as they're transitioning. They feel like I can take a break and go live my life and then I can always come back. Or even worse, they're like, well, my child is in 6th grade. I will give it to them when they become college eligible, only to find out, well, you only have 2 years left of this benefit because you didn't know that it expired. So the Forever GI Bill looks to alleviate some of those challenges. The Leadership Institute, as mentioned earlier by our president, is a premier student leadership experience that brings together chapter leaders through an immersive experience designed to equip tomorrow's leaders to serve and create a lasting community of impact. Our executive administrator has more details about her experience to share with us during her presentation. The National Conference, also known as NatCon, serves as a focal point throughout the academic year to share ideas and best practices and network with student veterans, military-connected students, their families, supporters, allies, and corporate government and nonprofit partners. NatCon, in my opinion, is a blend of a career fair, a networking event, and a recognition of achieving students, veterans, and staff. Washington Week, this event allows SVA chapter members to make their voices heard in our nation's capital. Chapter members will have the chance to share their experience as student veterans with their elected officials and attend a joint hearing of Congress to watch SVA officials, staff present its policy priorities. This past year at Washington Week, the president and CEO, he spoke at Washington Week, and everybody that I know attended was very proud and happy to be there to witness our president advocate for student veterans at the Capitol. It was a very monumentous moment for a lot of veterans. Regional summits, they offer a variety of sessions that guide chapter leaders to grow chapter success strategically and navigate the academic year with tools, techniques, and tactics ready for impact. Our executive administrator also has more details to share about regional summits. Scholarships, as mentioned earlier by our president, are distributed to top student veterans in a manner that doesn't interfere with the GI Bill or financial aid. Annually, they have over $100,000 available to share in scholarships. So a lot of times, especially veterans, through the academic journey, you start to learn more about yourself, me included. I just started with, my regular major, and then UAGC offers emphases, not minors, but they offer emphases, which requires additional courses that you can take in pursuit of your passions and your academic goals. So as you learn this, well, you may realize, well, I only have 36 months of benefits. How do I get, more benefits? Because now I've extended, my journey. Or like Melissa and Clint, they completed their program and now they're pursuing a master's or multiple masters or their doctorate. One of those things that you don't want to worry about is funding. So there are many scholarships and financial opportunities out there just within SVA. And then the President's Volunteer Service Award. This is an opportunity to recognize any individual who is actively volunteering in their community, which is available via My SVA, which once you become a member of any SVA chapter, we highly recommend that you register with My SVA. That way you will have access to all of the benefits that I'm speaking about today. Next slide, please. Enhancing belonging and leadership through national conferences. Here, we can recognize some of the stats that I discovered while putting this presentation together for the national conference. 85% of attendees feel a stronger sense of belonging. Like our president spoke about during his experience, I can't tell you how many different people I met at this year's conference who were excited to meet other people in a similar situation as they were, and all the people who were willing to offer their support. There was no class of people that went over here. There was no room where, in the military, typically when you go to a big event, officers go one way, enlisted go another way, and then even within that, there's more groups that form. None of that happened at the national conference. Everybody mingled together. You can talk to everybody. You can have a conversation. Everybody was there to meet and understand everybody's journey. Promote sharing of experiences, challenges, and successes. It is achieved through, for the national conference, it's achieved through breakout sessions, scheduled networking events, scheduled meet and greets, which may not seem like a big deal, but you realize if you've been to some of these events, there's not a lot of time between transitioning between breakout sessions. So they schedule opportunities for you to connect and make those connections. Over 70% established long-term professional connections. I attended the national conference in January. It's now November. I'm still in contact with students and staff that I met during the national conference, mainly because I didn't know going into NatCon, but the strides that we here at UAGC SVA are doing are leaps and bounds ahead of online engagement and online universities. So our presence in the online and the virtual university world made me sort of a person that they wanted to kind of talk to on a regular basis. But still, when I want to engage with our community or I want to think outside of the box, I'm 20 years military, so I think a very specific way. So I will reach out to people that I met at the NatCon and then kind of brainstorm with them on, what they've been doing. The Leadership Institute, 90% of Leadership Institute participants feel more prepared for leadership roles. This is achieved mainly because at the Institute, you will not only learn about leadership, but you will talk about leadership, then you will practice leadership, all in a safe place, designed and prepared for you to not necessarily get it right. This is one of the advantages of going to the Leadership Institute, where it's an opportunity where you can fail. You know, if you fail in your career, that can kind of stick with you. If you fail academically, it's not going anywhere. So, you know, the Leadership Institute is a place where they want you to push the boundaries. They want you to test your limits. They want you to challenge yourself. And if it's not right, great. You know, most people that I know, they learn more from their failures than they do their successes. So the Leadership Institute gives you that opportunity. And with that, I will hand it over to our esteemed executive administrator, Melissa Galais.
Thank you, Chevis, and welcome everybody. Thank you for sticking with us. My name is Melissa Galais. I am an active duty Army spouse. I graduated in 2024 with my bachelor's in business administration and an emphasis in strategic communications here at UAGC, and I am currently working on my MBA. I am also the founding executive administrator of our UAGC SVA chapter, and I am a student success program coordinator working in the CHAMPS peer mentoring program. Next slide, please. One of the main takeaways from my journey with SBA has been the importance of building a strong sense of belonging and leadership within our chapter. And as a military spouse, attending the SVA events like the Regional Summit and the Leadership Institute were nerve-wracking, but they were ultimately rewarding experiences. The Regional Summit is a 3-day event where you'll connect with other cabinet officers, advisors, and members, and it's open to anybody who is a part of SVA. And it's hosted in different cities in the summertime. And when I first arrived at the summit I went to in Denver, I felt very out of place as I was the only attendee that was a spouse and not a veteran. But during those 3 days, I learned what it takes to be a successful chapter. And I also learned that active duty, spouse, dependent, veteran, it doesn't matter. We are all part of the same military community. The other attendees and the SVA staff all bonded over shared experiences, regardless of their backgrounds. I had a lengthy conversation with an advisor that was an Army veteran, and we had been stationed in several of the same places, and nothing brings people together like disliking Fort Polk. The Leadership Institute is another wonderful event that I just recently attended, and this event focuses on individual leadership, as Clint mentioned earlier, and this is an event that I would recommend everybody apply for. It's 3 days of very intense leadership training, but the knowledge and insights that I gained are invaluable. It only took me a little while to kind of feel like I belonged and was part of that group. And the one thing that they stressed over and over again was that nobody was there by accident. We were all specifically chosen for our unique experiences, perceptions, and backgrounds. And now I am a proud SVA Leadership Fellow along with our chapter president. These events gave me an opportunity to connect with all military affiliated students that were working towards that similar goal in higher education. And through participating in these events, I was not only inspired, but encouraged to make our chapter the best that it can be. The leadership skills and motivation that I gain do not stay within the walls of the event. They translate into real leadership skills within the organization, like taking an active role in our SVA chapter by joining the cabinet, and also leading other efforts on behalf of veterans and military families outside of SVA. The sense of belonging and leadership doesn't come from isolation. It comes from engaging with others and seeing ourselves as part of something bigger. For military spouses like me, this is a path to realizing that we have an important role to play within that broader military community. Next slide, please. Imposter syndrome. So Clint and Chevis both mentioned this, and I am going to talk about it from a different perspective and tie it all together. I want to share a short definition of what imposter syndrome is and how military spouses are affected. So imposter syndrome is when people doubt their own achievements or feel like a fraud, thinking that their success is due to luck or coincidence instead of based on their skill. This affects a lot of different people, but from a military spouse perspective, it brings on those feelings of self-doubt and isolation, and it can impact personal and professional relationships. And that's detrimental because in the military community, we depend on those relationships to keep us going. And as military spouses, it's not uncommon to feel like you don't fully belong and that our contributions are less valuable than those other people in the military community, the veterans and the active duty. And I felt it myself, especially when I first got involved with SVA. I didn't know what to expect, and I didn't know what was expected of me. Our cabinet members and advisors are amazing. They helped me every step of the way. They helped me feel like I belong and that I was a valued member of this chapter. And they did this by including me in the chapter events and always being happy to answer questions. And I did have a lot. You will not find a more engaged and patient group of people than our chapter advisors and cabinet members. And they're the reason that I applied to be the chapter executive administrator in the first place. SVA is an inclusive organization and it welcomes all military affiliated students. Our individual experiences are unique and they are valuable, and we all bring different perspectives that enrich this military SVA community. Through engaging in SVA's supportive network, I have recognized that a spouse's place in the organization is not only valid, but it is essential. And by taking on leadership roles and participating in SVA events like the Regional Summit and the Leadership Institute, that's just to name a few, I begin to overcome those feelings of self-doubt. And I realize that I belong here just as much as anyone else. SVA provides the resources and community to help us grow and overcome these challenges like imposter syndrome. And with every leadership role, with every event as a military spouse, we become more confident in our abilities and our worth within this organization. I want to briefly touch on the future growth of SVA using the CHAMPS peer mentoring program at UAGC. Both SVA and CHAMPS focus on creating a supportive community. Military affiliated students that come into CHAMPS are directed to our SVA group in UAGC Connect so that they can join, and this collaboration helps strengthen our chapter as we bring in more exciting and engaged members. I encourage all military affiliated students to fully engage with SVA and everything that it has to offer. Take some time to look through their website and the wealth of information that it offers. They even have a section that is dedicated to spouses and dependents. SVA provides those support, tools, and community that we all need. So please remember that every one of us has something valuable to contribute. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. Every one of us has something valuable to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melissa. So now I want to turn our attention to any questions that we may have from our participants today. And I want to thank you all so much for attending our session and presentation. Any questions out there? It's awfully quiet, so we can go ahead and wrap up
So-
just a couple of
so-
minutes early if we don't have
so-
any questions.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead, Joe.
No, I was just going to thank you guys. I wanted to thank you all, thank the panel. This was very enlightening, very eye-opening to me. A very well put together presentation by all of you, and thank you very much. And thank you to everyone in the audience for participating. And I wanted to put in the chat here for you this link to the conference. It's a conference survey link. You can go in here, you can provide your feedback, your comments. Please go in here and rate the presentation, as this information is all used for nominating TLC Presentation Conference Awards. And again, on behalf of TLC, I wanted to thank you all very much. And again, thank all the participants in the audience. And that concludes our session. We still have a little bit of time for if anyone wants to put in a last minute question. If not, we can end early. Alrighty, thank you all very much. Have a great rest of your conference.